Well, Lauren Bacall, as we meet, my fellow Americans, is starting, and here in I think in January you have a very important honor coming your way, as I believe, the Broadcast Film
Yes,
Critics.
isn't that nice?
Tell me about
That's
this.
a surprise. Well, that's something I just learned about today, so I didn't know anything about it, and the film critics voted for me, and I'm thrilled that they did, and it was just a surprise.
How do you assess awards in general in your profession?
Well, I mean, we all say, oh, who cares, you know, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's always nice to get them. I mean, it's any kind of recognition in my profession, especially when you've been in it as long as I have, and when you've been ignored a lot as I've been in the movie world, I have been. So I'm really thrilled to get any kind of recognition, especially now. I mean, it's very, very nice. I mean, I think awards, if they are given for performances specifically, and not because they like you or because, you know, you haven't gotten one and they think maybe you ought to get one. And, you know, I mean, I think sentimentality should not creep into awards. I think if it's an award, it should be an award for specific work.
Well, something like Mirror Has Two Faces certainly is a bona fide contender, as they say, for award recognition. I mean, you're hearing this all over the place.
Well, thank you. Yes, I do hear it, but I don't believe it, and we mustn't think about it because it may never happen.
Fair enough, but you know, you're quoted
But
all
I'm very happy to have had such good reviews. I mean, I just feel
Sure.
very lucky, you know, that's great.
You're quoted all the time as saying, "Oh, I'm being ignored," or "I'm not
No, I'm
working
not
right
being
now."
ignored.
But
No,
this
well, I
isn't
haven't.
so.
No, I haven't worked a lot in movies. I work all the time because I won't let myself stop because I do other things connected with appearing and whatever. But I haven't been in that many movies. I mean, since Ready to Wear, which was a couple of years ago, I have worked quite steadily, and I'm very grateful for that. But before that, I mean, I had a lot of dry spots. I mean, I was in a movie here and there, or a movie for television, a good one that I'd made with Greg Peck, which I liked a lot, called The Portrait. And there have been a few other things, but in movies, per se, there haven't been that many.
We think of you, though, as a movie star. We can't help it, and yet you don't like the term star and legend. There was even an article
no,
about
I
you
don't
recently.
mind the word star. I just think that everyone and his brother is a star now, and I mean, a star used to stand for something quite different to me. Legend makes me a little nervous because I was always brought up to believe that a legend was something that had happened 100 years ago and that didn't exist anymore except in people's minds.
A mythology.
Yes, and so I just, I find it hard to relate to that. But I don't think of myself in any category, really. I don't know where I belong.
Well, could you help us relate to where you do belong? That is to say, in a typical day of yours, where you live, what you call home, some of the things you do that we couldn't possibly know about if we are merely moviegoers. Lauren,
If you are merely what?
moviegoers.
Oh,
Lauren Bacall
well.
outside of all of that. Help
Oh,
us out a
really?
little
Well,
bit.
there's just so much I'm prepared to say about
Well,
that.
I'll take whatever.
But I don't know. But I mean, I live a fairly normal life.
New York City?
I'm not at home very much. I live in New York, and I don't spend enough time at home. I love to be at home, and
And at home, you love to do what?
well, I love to read. I love to listen to music. I like to just kind of not plan anything. You know, an actor's life is a very planned life when you're working. It has to be very disciplined. It's the nature of the business, whether you're on the stage or whether you're in a movie. And so when I'm at home, I just like to it's my dream. You know, we all have this thing, oh, if only I could have some time off. And then when we have too much time off, we say, oh, if only I could work. So, I mean, I really do enjoy the idea of leisure, although there's no leisure over the holidays, as we know. But I mean, I go to I have my bank's on the corner, and I walk to the corner, and I go to the market, and I buy the food because I enjoy that. I really do things that I like to do. I don't go to lunch at all.
Really? No lunch?
I don't like restaurants at lunch. I mean, I'm in restaurants all the time when I travel, you see. So I'm not that crazy about being in restaurants.
Do you cook?
Not if I can help it.
Because I love that. I love that. You don't
You do? No, I mean, I can cook a little bit, but I'm usually home alone, so I mean, why do I want to cook for myself?
Now, you've
I mean,
said
I have somebody who will leave stuff for me if I want it, or if there's something I want to prepare, I can. I steam vegetables, whatever it is. No big deal. But also, I just don't feel like doing much of anything, you know what I mean? I want to just, I say if I could just sit at home one afternoon, just read them. What I look forward to on Saturday afternoons is the opera. The Metropolitan Opera on the air is fabulous. Saturday afternoons, that's my great treat. So, I mean, I really, you know, and sometimes I go to the island for weekends, and I have friends that have houses out there, and I go and stay with them. And so,
now when you're alone, obviously you're with yourself, and you've been quoted as saying, "Not only do I not suffer fools gladly, but I don't suffer myself."
gladly, that's right.
Well, when you're alone, you're stuck with that, huh?
I know it. Well, if I read books or listen to music, I don't have to think about myself too much. That's why I have to have a dog again. You see, I'm going to have a dog again in my life. I haven't had one for 10 years because I've traveled so much, and I don't want to put a dog in a kennel, and I don't want to put a dog in the hold of an airplane. So I have to find a small dog that I really can cotton to, because I've never had a really small dog.
Your last dog was named?
Blenheim.
Blenheim.
Blenheim. I wrote about him in my last book.
Now?
Yeah, I know. And he was too big to have on the plane, to carry on the plane, too big and too heavy. So I really have to find a smaller dog. And I have to wait until spring, I suppose, until the weather is right. But I'm going to investigate it before then, because I want one.
I know I'm being impertinent, but are you waiting that long to have another man around the house?
I beg your pardon. Am I waiting that long? No.
What kind of an analogy is this?
Yes, well, because I think so far I'd prefer a dog. I mean, if you've met some of the men that I've met, you would agree with me.
Now, as a man and as a single man, I must take exception to quotes that you've said where you just can't find single men who are interesting to talk to and that you choose to spend time with.
Well, it's not that easy.
Huh?
It's not that easy. I think, first of all, a lot of men have preconceptions about someone like myself, you know, about, oh, she wouldn't want to be bothered with me, or, oh, she's too big a star.
Oh, that's true.
Or, oh, I don't, you know, I'd bore her. Or, who knows? Well, it's a man's insecurity. What can I tell you? I can't deal with a man's insecurity. I mean, I don't care what the man does. I don't care what his profession is. I just want him to know what he's about. I just want a man who knows who he is. And I think a man that knows who he is won't have a problem with me. I'm a human being. I'm not, you know, I have every foible and frailty that other human beings have. So, I mean, what's the big deal? But I don't go looking for that. I mean, if it comes along, it comes along. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, I've had a lot of luck in my life, and so, listen.
With what little time
a
I have.
dog is a very nice companion, you know, and they don't talk back either.
Just a bit of time tonight at the Directors Guild. There's a symposium about the Un-American Activities Committee investigations, the
Is there
blacklist,
really?
and all of that.
Who's taking part?
Walter
in that?
Bernstein will be there.
Ah.
And I'm wondering, you were about 22 when you and Mr. Bogart were with the Committee for the Preservation of the First Amendment.
Right.
Did you feel in over your head at any time during those years?
No, I was so brash. Are you kidding? I was sure I was right. I was very full of self-righteousness and full of patriotism and full of the Constitution and a man's right to speak and defend himself, and very against J. Parnell Thomas and that crowd. And I still think I was right about that. But I went, and we all went, on an emotional level,
Indeed.
without any knowledge, actually, of who the men were, what their lives were like, but we still felt that they were treated unfairly, and they were treated unfairly.
I was going to say, would you take maybe 30 seconds? Let's say you're at that panel tonight, and you're talking to an audience who's never heard of HUAC or the witch hunts at that time. What would you say we learned out of all that?
Not much.
That didn't take 30 seconds.
Unfortunately, not much, no. I mean, because I think that in other ways, I think that there is still a lot of censorship. There's still people who are afraid to, you know, attack certain causes and certain kinds of people and whatever preconceptions people have about other people. You know, there are always problems. But that was a bad time.
I want to thank you for the extra time, and good luck with your dog.
Thank you.
Would that I were your dog.
Oh,
How's
we
that?
just wag your tail. You
There
never
you
know.
go.